and welcome to my new Let's Play of Pikmin. This was released as an early title for the Nintendo GameCube, and is also one of my favorite childhood video games. I like it so much that I've actually already done a full playthrough of it for my channel, but that was such a long time ago that I've been wanting to redo it for a while now. For the sake of variety, I'll be going through the Wii version this time. Pikmin was released for the Wii as part of the new Play Control line of GameCube to Wii ports. In addition to new controls, obviously, there are quite a few other changes as well, and I'll be going over as many as I can throughout the adventure. So for now, let's get started. My name is Captain Olimar. While traveling through space, my ship was struck by a meteor. I must have blacked out, and I awoke on the surface of a weird planet. With so many parts lost, the skeletal hull of my beloved dolphin is a painful sight. The engine is gone. I'm stranded. To make matters worse, my atmospheric sensors indicate this planet's environment contains high levels of poisonous oxygen. My life support systems can function for only 30 days. If I can't repair the dolphin by then, no, better not to think about it. I must find the missing parts. And our search begins now. So over here, there is a strange object in the grass. A strange thing has appeared before me. I had barely begun my search when it reared up as if it were waiting for me. It then dropped a single seed. What is it? Is it alive? Is it a machine? It resembles a vegetable on my home planet that we call an onion. I shall call this an onion too. Alright, so we have to wait for this little sprout to grow a bit before we can interact with it, but Olimar's moveset is fairly limited. He can punch, it's not very strong though, so if we encounter any monsters, we might be in trouble, as is. But we can take down these little plants with these little pellets in them. There's more pellets over here. We can't reach this one yet, and there's one with a 5 on it. But now the sprout is a lot bigger and glowing. Olimar will eventually chime in with dialogue, like so. The seed that the onion dropped took root in the soil and has now produced an adorable little sprout. The sprout emits a strange light, and it sways back and forth without benefit of wind. I cannot help but think it is calling to me. I am compelled. I must approach it and press A. So if we press A... Extraordinary! When I plucked the sprout, it turned out to be a living creature, not a plant. Picking it has done no visible damage. It just stands there, staring at me. Its shape is similar to the Pick brand carrots I love so much. I believe I shall call it a Pikmin. Here I am, stranded on a toxic planet, fighting to survive, and yet I'm intrigued. I must research this fascinating creature. I shall try to grab it with A, then throw it in the direction I point. And I will call it to my side with B. Perhaps it will react to C and pressing down on the D-pad while pointing as well. The following controls appear to allow me several viewpoints. Z, rotate camera behind Olimar. Left and right to zoom. Up, change perspective. I must survive. I need to familiarize myself with these controls and my surroundings. So, now we have control over the camera. We can zoom out and in. We can tilt it directly above us. And we can now throw this little Pikmin we have. So this plant that was out of reach, they can easily take down, and they will automatically start carrying the pellet back. If I'm not mistaken, this is not how it works on the GameCube version. I'm pretty sure on the GameCube version, when they take down one of the little pellet posies, as they're called, they will automatically return to Olimar's side, requiring them to be thrown at the pellet to pick it up. Astonishing! The onion has sown more seeds. The small red pellet the Pikmin harvested after cutting down a flower appears to be some type of food that can propagate more Pikmin. The onion seems to be a sort of incubator. Needless to say, I must study this strange life form more. Alright, so there are more pellets in the area, so let's collect them all. The other big difference, obviously, for the GameCube to Wii port is widescreen support. So, the GameCube had a resolution of usually 480i, up to 480p with the right cables. But yeah, this is full widescreen now. It's really nice, actually. I honestly think Pikmin's a pretty decent looking game even now, despite releasing a month after the GameCube's launch. So having it in a better resolution, even just a little bit, is helpful. Alright, there are a few more pellets around, there's one there and one over here, but we also have more Pikmin we can actually collect here. Now we can actually speed up our tasks with more Pikmin to divide up, so now we have 2 Pikmin carrying pellets back, and now that we have a total of 5, we can also carry back this pellet with a 5 on it. So, another change that won't really be apparent until later is how the numbers are displayed. The color matches the color of the Pikmin that are carrying the pellet, so in the original version, it didn't do this. I think there was one blue number and one red number, regardless of the color of Pikmin carrying it. Spoiler, there are other variants of Pikmin, which we'll be discovering very soon, actually. One really fascinating thing in this game is every time you go to pluck a Pikmin, the camera will automatically zoom in. I don't know why it does that, it eventually stops doing that, but it is a minor inconvenience early on. So, there's this box over here with a 10 on it, and beyond that, we can see something that looks like a ship part. Also more pellets over there. So we need a total of 10 Pikmin to actually get to the second part of the impact site. And luckily for us, we have way more than 10 now. So, in addition to throwing Pikmin, if you hold down on the D-pad, we can swarm Pikmin onto objects. The Pikmin are as curious as children. They form groups to perform tasks that would be impossible for an individual. A glimmer of hope has begun to shine in my heart. If I can make use of their skills, perhaps I can fix my ship. I shall sum up all I've learned of Pikmin conduct. Approach and press A to pick sprouts. Press A to grab Pikmin. Release to throw. Press B to call them. C to dismiss. Press down on the D-pad and point to command, and control the group. Use Z and up and left and right on the D-pad to control perspective. I shall record this in my computer and access it with the plus button. So we can call them back, and over here... Amazing, there's no mistaking it. My ship's engine rests before my very eyes. By a stroke of pure luck, I have already stumbled upon the most important piece of my damaged craft. Fate has smiled upon me, but how will I get it back to the dolphin? Well, if we swarm the Pikmin onto it, we can see that it requires 20 Pikmin, so we need to grow some more. So we're gonna lead them up here. The controls being different than on GameCube is a bit of a double-edged sword, actually. I find throwing Pikmin is much better, partly because I'm pretty sure you can actually throw them farther. So you have the cursor and then the little pointer separate, so even if you point past your throwing distance, it will just still display how far you can throw a Pikmin, so that's really nice. The one downside of the Wii controls is swarming being tied to the pointer as well. Oftentimes, it can be helpful to swarm and throw at the same time. We'll get to that a little bit later. And on this version, it's a lot harder to do that. Other than that, a lot of people do prefer the Wii version for having better controls. I really like the GameCube version, partly because I'm used to it. But either way, I find both control setups are generally functional. Something else worth noting is if you leave the sprouts in the ground for long enough, they will go through 2 more stages of Pikmin growth. The leaf will turn into a bud, and if you wait even longer, the bud will turn into a flower. Flower Pikmin, if I'm not mistaken, are stronger and a bit faster as well. So if you want to wait around, we don't have a time limit or anything, so if you want to wait around for this initial set of Pikmin to flower, you will have an advantage later on. When many Pikmin seeds sprout at once, I find it rather tedious to pluck them from the ground individually. My wife always told me I was no good at routine tasks. I guess I'll try to get it all done at once by repeatedly tapping A until I pick all the Pikmin from the ground. I've noticed that when I add Pikmin to my group, they become filled with excitement and flushed with bright color. At other times they revert to a paler hue and give off a dim glow. Paying close attention to these differences is bound to help me distinguish between Pikmin. So with C, we can dismiss Pikmin. For example, if we need to go as Olimar by himself, we can leave the Pikmin in an orderly little group here, and then they'll turn pale to show that they are dismissed. Same goes for throws. It's just basically a different state to easily indicate if a Pikmin is in your group or not. But with 25 Pikmin, we can easily return the engine to the Dolphin. And while we wait, yeah, if you have 25 flower Pikmin at the end of day 1, it will make day 2 a little bit easier. For the sake of time, I am going to try to proceed with only leaf Pikmin. It's not too big of a deal, we should be able to get everything done relatively easily, regardless. Also worth noting, we'll get into this a little bit later, but this will also be a no-death run. I will try to not lose a single Pikmin throughout this playthrough, which is honestly actually a bit trickier than trying to play with losing Pikmin, so it's kind of a neat little challenge run. But the engine is almost back to the ship. Oh, glorious. With the help of these Pikmin, I've taken a huge step back toward home. My ship can once again lift off. The glimmer of hope is beginning to burn more brightly, but what has become of the remaining parts? That search starts tomorrow. One day since Impact, I have somehow managed to launch the Dolphin, but I was surprised to see the Onion lift off with me. Perhaps the Pikmin cannot survive overnight on the planet's surface, or have they merely decided to join me for other reasons? Either way, it seems they will help me again tomorrow. The Dolphin is missing 29 parts. If I can't recover them all, I may never return home to my family on planet Hokotate. Analysis shows life support systems will function for only 29 more days. How can I repair my dolphin in such a short time? A dense forest is visible on the surface below. As it holds the keys to my survival, I'll name it the Forest of Hope. I'll explore it tomorrow. So here we have our stats for the day. So we grew 25 Pikmin and didn't lose any. That will become a factor in future days, but with that we have reached the end of day 1. And with that, we now have access to a new region, which we'll be exploring next time. So thank you for watching, and I hope you'll join me next time for more Pikmin.